This is CNN Breaking News.
Welcome to our viewers in the United States and around the world. This is New Day. It is Friday, December 23rd, 6 o'clock in the East. We begin with breaking news. The search for the Berlin Christmas market attack suspect comes to an end near Milan in Italy. Police there say officers killed Anis Amri in a shootout.
Investigators say Amri pulled a gun when police stopped him at a checkpoint and opened fire. We have every angle of this breaking news covered for you, beginning with CNN's Chris Burns, live with the latest from Berlin. Chris, what have you learned?
Good morning, Allison. Well, this is what we know so far is that Anis Amri had taken a train from Savoie in France, from Chambéry, the town of Chambéry, to Milan, to the main train station in Milan, from where he took another train to a suburb. And that is where the police wanted to do an identity check with him. And instead of pulling out his documents, he pulled out a .22 caliber pistol and started firing. And then the police shot back and killed him, but not before one of the police was injured in the shoulder in the gunfight. That's where it stands right now. German and Italian authorities are very much in contact. At the same time, though, that does not mean that the pressure is off over here in Germany. There could be other Anis Amris. He was part of a network, and German authorities are very much watching for that right now. Back to you.
Okay.
All right, I'll take it. Ben, stay with us. Also joining us now, CNN terrorism analyst and editor-in-chief of CTC Sentinel, Paul Cruikshank. Paul, you've been in front of this reporting right now. Does it come as a surprise that he made it this far? And what do you make of how it ended?
I don't think it comes as a surprise because this individual was being supported by a network, as we understand, a network which could have smuggled him out of the country, given him some assistance. He had spent a number of years in Italy before moving to Germany, so presumably had a number of contacts there who could help him as well. But this does not seem to be an intelligence-led shootout. They just got lucky, it seems, that when it was a routine patrol last night, that he decided, instead of handing over his identity papers, to try to go out in a blaze of glory, so to speak, by attacking Italian police. Fortunately, the Italian police were able to return fire and to take him out. So this removes the threat from him, but there's still concern that this wider network poses a threat to Germany, poses a threat to Europe. Overnight, there were 2 arrests in Duisburg. And the Germans are looking into whether those 2 individuals arrested overnight were plotting to launch an attack on a shopping mall and Christmas market in northwestern Germany. That area, Duisburg, by the way, was really ground center for the recruitment efforts of this Abu Wala ISIS recruitment network linked to the Berlin truck attack. So a worrying time still as we head into Christmas.
Right. So, Chris, that aligns with your reporting as well. This wasn't an intelligence-led capture and shootout.
No.
They stumbled upon him.
Yeah. This was very much a lucky shot. There really is no indication at this point that Italian authorities have been waiting for him, and especially at a small town, a suburban station outside of Milan. That is not very likely, and he was just met by a couple, 3 Italian police. But at the same time, this was a huge dragnet going on, and it was going on across Germany and across Europe. They were busting down doors in Germany and in East and West Germany, looking for this guy. And at the same time, other searches going on that managed to stop another attack at the largest shopping mall in Europe, in Western Germany, that also has a Christmas market. They arrested 2 Kosovar brothers who live in Germany, and they foiled that attack as well. So the story's not over here either.
Ben Wiedemann joins us now on the phone from Italy. What are you hearing about the circumstances surrounding this shootout?
Well, what we understand from the Italian police and the Italian interior minister this morning was that at 3 o'clock in the morning, that was 9 hours ago, a police patrol outside the Sesto San Giovanni train station in the suburbs of Milan, in northern Italy, stopped a man who was, they say, acting suspiciously. They asked him for his ID. He reached into his backpack, and rather than pulling out a passport or an identification card, He pulled out a .22 caliber pistol, opened fire, shot one of the policemen in the shoulder, and then, according to the Italian media, he took cover behind a car, continued to shoot, but one of the Italian officers fired back, shooting him fatally. Now, we understand that on his body they found ticket stubs, train ticket stubs, which would indicate that he came from Germany via France to Italy, stopping first in Turin, then he went to the central train station in Milan, and then went to this train station, the Sesto San Giovanni, in the suburbs, which would indicate that he was going, well, the suspicion is that what was he doing, who was he going to meet in this particular spot?
And Paul Cruikshank, what's the answer to that? What has your intelligence reporting tried to figure out about where he was going?
Well, we don't know that yet. It may well be that he had a network of contacts in Italy as well, a country that he spent a number of years in. And when it comes to these extremist networks in Europe, they really don't respect any borders. There's a network of individuals who have radicalized, spread out across the European Union. He was heading south. Perhaps in an attempt, one could speculate to try to go back or at least try to get into Syria to perhaps link up with ISIS there. We know that in December of 2015, he was absolutely determined to go and join ISIS in Syria. He was preparing for it. He was getting fit, going on long hikes. He was really, really desperate to go and join the group. So perhaps he felt that after having launched this attack, that he could try to attempt that. But it would have been quite difficult, obviously, given he was the most wanted man in Europe. But this is somebody who over the past several years has used numerous aliases, numerous sets of identity papers, forged documents, and maybe he felt that he could flee southwards and get to the Middle East.
So, Paul, let's knit together everything we're hearing this morning from Ben Wiedemann saying that there was the investigators are looking at why he was trying to get to where he was going, who he was looking to link up with. Chris Burns saying that the authorities in Germany are still worried about these other arrests and how this may be knitted together. And what you're hearing and we're hearing from our friends in French intelligence, that they are on alert as well. How real is the concern that maybe around the holidays or maybe as a past model we've seen, and it's never just a one-off in Europe, that there is usually some kind of concerted effort to have chained attacks?
The system is blinking red in Europe right now, Chris. There's just a lot of concern about plotting activity right across the continent, particular concern about Christmas markets, outdoor events. ISIS are really putting out a clarion call for their followers in Europe to launch attacks. They've been trying to infiltrate operatives back in to the continent. We are now on really maximum alert level throughout Europe, and the public is just going to have to be really, really vigilant as they sort of go about their everyday business.
Chris, we've learned through intelligence sources that they believe that this guy was part of a larger network there in Germany. What are people on the ground telling you about that?
Well, absolutely. In fact, I mean, CNN obtained nearly 350 pages of German intelligence papers that showed that Anis Amri was very much plugged into this organization that was led by Abu Wallah, who is now in custody. He was a hate preacher who had organized, had an organization that was proselytizing, recruiting, training people to do just what we saw happen here at that Christmas market on Monday. So yes, I mean, he's plugged into this network that could very well have others. I mean, you mentioned about how other parts of Europe could be also facing the same kind of threat. I was in Strasbourg just last week, and I saw how they have a huge Christmas market there, and they were blocking all the bridges leading into the Christmas market with huge semi trucks, and they had cement blocks, they had checkpoints, and we're probably going to see a lot more of that around Europe now.
Yeah, some of our intel sources from France were We're talking about their Christmas markets that they have there along some of their main promenades in Paris. Ben Wiedemann, the Italian investigators are slow to give all details because they say this is an active investigation. What are you hearing about what they're still looking for? Is this about a broader connection or other planning?
Well, the feeling is that because Anis Amri spent so many years in Italy, specifically in Italian prisons, 6 in the total, that he has contacts here, and probably contacts of a criminal nature, if not an extremist nature as well. So they're going back to look at everyone he might have come in contact with in prison, where those people may be at the moment. But in the immediate term, what Italian authorities are doing, certainly since the attacks in Berlin, is further heightening the level of alert and the level of security in major Italian cities. I mean, actually, the level of alert has been quite high going back to the beginning of 2015 with the Charlie Hebdo attacks in Paris, but certainly since the November attacks in Paris of last year and the attacks in Berlin, Belgium, that you have seen a heightened level of security, and it's only going to get higher as a result of what happened in Berlin. But yes, the Italian authorities' intelligence is really working this around the clock. I've seen Italian intelligence documents that are basically top secret. And when you see the level of surveillance that the Italian intelligence maintains on suspects, it's quite impressive in terms of telephone numbers, transcripts, all of that information. So they're definitely in overdrive right now to prevent anything happening here in Italy that has happened elsewhere in Europe.
All right, Ben, Chris, Paul, please keep working your sources, and we'll check in with you throughout the morning.
Thank you guys for all the reporting. Well,